Good morning.
Yo,
What's up?
you know where you at? Live from LA, Art Beauty Equilibrium podcast show.
Yes,
Look,
sir. Give it
what's
up,
going
give
on,
it up,
guys?
Give it up. Give it up. Give it up.
That's right. Morning.
Hey,
So
we gotta do that every morning.
we should.
We should do the.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about becoming dynamic, and one of the people that can definitely deliver this message is a good friend of mine, Dr. Brandy Florence. She's a part of this book called Becoming Dynamic. It tells stories about the greatness of accomplishing your goals despite circumstances and adversity. And let's just get into it. Miss Brandy Florence, how are you today?
I'm wonderful. How are you guys? Okay, I was waiting. Okay, I'm like,
One more time.
Yeah. So Brandy, you know,
That's right.
of
Thank
course
you for
I know a
joining
lot.
us.
I know a little bit about you. You know, you which says in the book that you graduated high school at 16, and in 3 years. That's crazy.
that is.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
Not only that, you know, you have a few degrees under your belt, right? You just recently got your doctorate, 2020.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
One more.
Yes.
Okay, so let's get into this book.
Shonda said, Dr. Brandy.
Dr. Brandy.
Okay.
What? Hey, she says Dr. Brandy. Hey, that's what I'm talking about. So, Brandy, go ahead and, you know, tell us your story, please.
My story in the book or my story of me? Like, what do you want to know?
I want to know the story of you.
Ooh. Well, as you said, I graduated high school at 16. I went on to get my bachelor's degree. I wanted to be a cardiologist. Didn't pass the MCAT, didn't know what I was going to do. Then I had a cousin that told me to go back to school, get my master's to be the doctor's boss. Didn't know that was a job.
Remember, we was talking about that, and I said, that messed me up.
The doctor's
The
boss.
doctor's boss. I was like, we was sitting up, I said, she said, what? I was like, that's amazing. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So I didn't know that was a job, but I mean, it is in a lot of settings. My organization, they own the company, but essentially the doctors are like, no, you tell us what to do. So that, and then I kind of felt like I still was missing something. Like I felt like my degree was getting old, especially in my market and what I was doing. So I was looking for a certification, went back, was looking for a certification, saw this program and was like, no, there's no way you can get this doctorate in 2.5 years. Like, no. So I applied, didn't think I was gonna get in. And then once I got in, it was like, oh, okay. So that was that.
Okay, so now that we have the foundation, let's tell us about the background of how this became your journey. What was the journey that brought you to this? Because this is what you talk about in the book. And I know that, you know, reading, you know, your passage in the book, this is stuff I didn't know, you know.
First time I told the story to anybody.
Yeah, and it was pretty damn deep, you know. So, I know that you said that in the book that, you know, you were pretty much, you know, the family's best. I understand it because, you know, I can relate. So, firstborn granddaughter, so you had to set the table. All right, now, do you want to, I'll let you go and finish your story from there because.
I mean, you want the story of the book? So basically, around 12, I got in trouble sitting on a boy's lap. So no big deal, because it wasn't even a boy I liked. It was like literally the homie. When my dad pulled up, he sees me. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
My dad, he pulls up, so of course I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get in trouble. He gets mad, my mom gets mad, we're over it. But then they tell my grandmother. So I go to grandma's house, grandma sits me down, literally it's just me and grandma at the house. And the house is always full of people. So she sits me down and gives me this spiel of, this isn't something that young ladies do. And that messed me up. But I didn't realize it messed me up. So shortly after that, my grandmother passed away. So every time I would graduate, get a degree, do something, I would always in the back of my mind say, I wish grandma was here to see me now. But from that, getting in trouble sitting on a boy's lap and her saying that's not what young ladies do, in my mind, there was no more room for me to mess up. So I couldn't be the first one to come home pregnant. I couldn't be the first one to shack up with my boyfriend. So all of my things have become accomplice driven. Graduated high school at 16, went and got a bachelor's, went back and got a master's, bought a house, went and got a doctorate. Like, so I've been the one that's just like, I'm setting the tone, but I literally was so focused on career and education that like personal was on the background. Gotcha. So once I figured that out, it was like, literally, I think at 30 is when it clicked that I've been trying to fill this void or make up something that happened when I was 12.
I think that's so interesting how people discount like how events that happen when we're so young can have such a big impact on our lives for the rest of our lives. And sometimes you wouldn't even know it unless you go to therapy or, you know, it takes you going through things to even tie back what happened at such a young age into what you're doing right now. But that's a good story because that we all are shaped by things that happen when we're young. It's like we might not know it. We might not talk about it. And it's good to know it because then you can kind of know what makes you tick, why you do what you do. So I think that's dope.
And you said something, therapy, that's actually when I discovered I went to therapy because I had a bad breakup. So I'm thinking I'm going for that. And the therapist asked me about 3 deaths in my life because deaths are like equivalent to breakups. So he asked me about my cousin, who I thought was the most traumatic one. And he asked me about my grandfather and he asked me about my grandmother. I started crying like she died that morning. And this was 2007. My grandmother died in 92. So he's like, what was that? I'm like, I have no idea. And it was like a few weeks later, I was just sitting at the table talking to my cousin that it hit me like, oh, that's what that was. And then the story came back and then it started making sense. But I had no idea that is something I was holding on to. For all
they tend to say that anything life-altering a lot of times will have an effect on you. So, you know, marriage, divorce, children, death, birth of a child, all those things will change your life in a way, you know.
Exactly. And one thing is you're telling your story, you know, and everybody, one of us has our own stories in here. You know, they may not be, you know, great for whoever, but there are stories and they're great for us. And that's all that matters, you know, but that's a magnificent story that you know, that you brought in, that you shared. And I know that there's other women that have their stories in the book as well. It's about how many people?
20.
20. 20 people in the book. Like I said, the book is called Becoming Dynamic, y'all. Okay, get it on
check
Amazon.
that out.
Yeah, it's available on Amazon.
I like
I put the link in the description too.
Yes.
If anybody would like to purchase it,
Yes.
the link is in the description for the Amazon website. It takes you right to the book.
I have a question too. In regards to when you said you found the issue that was basically like maybe like a hurdle for you in your life, let's talk about the healing, because a lot of times we discover something and then we don't do the next thing that we need to do to prepare for what's coming next after that, the healing. Can you talk about that a little bit?
So for me, I think I've always been, I think after that point, I really probably got more into like self-development, life coaches, therapists, just really trying to understand like what else is going on, or why am I this way, or why do I react certain ways. So I think it became like, I feel like after that book, my 30s became just like a self-discovery. Like, I'm gonna do me, I don't care what you think, because I was the perfect child for everybody in the family for so long that I feel like my 30s, it was like, I don't care what y'all think, I'm gonna do it. That's when I started taking trips across the country with strangers. My parents would be like, oh my God, what is this girl doing? Like, I really just went on this, like, let me figure me out.
It's like discovery, okay, yeah.
And that goes into my
Good
next
advice.
question, because, you know, it was, why do you feel like this book needs to be written? But I guess what you just said on your, you know, as far as you need to tell or let people know how you felt. Like, look, I'm unapologetic. This is me. It is what it is now. You know, so getting out your story, you know, because that was my next question was, you know, why do you feel this book needs to be written? But I kind of answered it right there.
Well, yes and no, because actually I stalled. I didn't want to write the book. Like I met these women on a retreat in Bahamas last year, a self-development retreat, and it's called Becoming Dynamic.
Okay.
So when we got home, the lady called us and was like, we should write a book.
That's
and I was
dope.
like,
That is dope.
So I'm like, with Lisa Nichols. So Lisa Nichols is our coach. So we went to this retreat, totally life-changing. We all came back. And so when the lady, Denise, called us and said, let's write this book. And I'm like, I don't have no story to tell. Because I'm listening to y'all stories.
Right.
My story don't look like that.
Judging,
so I don't
yeah.
have I slept in the car. Like, I don't have those stories. So I think I literally was just like, oh, I'm gonna write it. Kept missing the deadline. And she was like, look, write the story.
Yeah, your
Right.
story
Wow.
is still your
And
story.
I was like, and this isn't even the story I originally was gonna write. Like, I
Right.
literally was like, I don't know. And then I just sat in the room one day and was like, start writing. Like, this is gonna be it. We're gonna see what impact this has, because I still didn't feel like it was a story
Right.
until it came out. And even the day the book came out, I have a cousin. She literally called me and says, I understand you now. And I was like, wow. Like, oh, okay.
Your story is your story, though.
It is, but I have other stories, but I didn't think this was the story.
Well, just because it might not be, the same as everyone else's.
Right.
So, I'm sorry. But
What's interesting to me is for this woman to actually get you to get up and do something, because no one can tell you to do anything. You put me in my place, and I'll be like, oh, all right, Brandy. So, I know it's hard for somebody to put you in your place and tell you to go do something. So that is very dynamic,
And I want to say thank you too, because I know we hear it all the time. A lot of people, especially in the shop, they talk about how we lack counseling and self-development. And
yes, we definitely need it.
in our community. So that's one thing that I want to say thank you, because we need to hear stories like this to make other people, make us feel comfortable with talking to people and getting out. Like you say, you had like self-inflicted guilt, basically. You know what I mean? So that's good, because just as a black woman, you want to hear like somebody not testify, but that's the only word I can think of.
Right.
When
It's
basically,
encouraging.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
To say, hey, this is what is going to basically help
yeah.
you, because I walked the path.
Even the aftermath of you writing your book and coming out with that story, just us talking about this right now and conversing about it is still encouraging and uplifting. So, yeah, that's awesome.
And
that's dope.
question, so how do you feel after you shared the story?
It was such a relief, because like I said, my parents never knew this story. Like,
Oh.
I don't even know if my dad read it. I remember I told him, I said, you should probably read it because it's about you and your mother.
Randy! Randy!
Yeah.
Randy, uh-oh.
Right.
So, yeah.
When Brandy speaks, you need to listen, Randy.
Literally, my aunt, who's my trainer, was the only one that I was like, I'm going to tell this story. So she's the only one that knew that this was the story I was going to share.
Wow.
So, yeah, like with my family, when everybody read it, I was like, let's see what they say. Because what anybody says or feels, I mean, it's my story, nothing was crazy about it, but
Right.
I'm glad, like I said, the cousin that called me and said that, and this is one, we don't even have this great of a relationship, so I was just like, wow. Like, okay. So I think it was a relief, and it was something that needed to happen for me to get out of my own way. Because, I mean, regardless of all the things I've done, I still think I'm in my way.
And I like I said, I know you on a personal level, so I feel like this also brought out more of a creative space for you, because now you have a hobby of painting.
Yes.
And hey, y'all got to check. I need to get one of her paintings again.
Okay.
I need one in my house.
All right.
Look.
Let's do it.
Hey, look. Her stuff is dope, y'all. So, you've been doing some big things. Like I said, put me in my place.
Yeah, Amelia said that, she feels our stories do need to be told. And I think that that's something that I personally always enjoy about people telling their stories. Is a lot of times we think we're alone with a certain battle, and that makes it hard because it's like a secret.
Yeah.
And when you feel and you know and you hear that somebody is going through something, even if it's not exact, if it's similar, or just a adversity and comes from a similar background that you came from.
Sometimes it motivates you.
It
too.
motivates
like, man,
you.
I'm being weak.
Yeah, yeah.
You did what?
So, Brandy, your other best friend, Damon, Turney. Tell Damon hi.
Hi, Damon.
Special shout out to D. What's
He
up,
put in the
Damon?
comments, he said, people struggle with acceptance, and we all can agree to that, right? So stories that help understand that our feelings and experiences are normal help us cope. You're right about that,
That's an
Damon.
excellent
Shout out
point,
to Damon,
D.
yeah. And shout out to Damon and his family. He just lost his brother.
Yes.
So
Condolences.
Condolences.
and this also brings me to another point. Ladies and gentlemen, check on your strong friends. You know,
yeah.
because your strong friends, you know, need as much help as your not so strong friends.
That's a good point, Shima.
You know,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
you know, everybody, you know, yeah.
Yeah, and if anybody has any questions in the chat room, you can type them in the room, and we can ask them too as well.
Right.
But to your point, what you just mentioned about the comfort zone.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's almost the whole battle.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
being uncomfortable, you're not gonna go to the next level, and you
You're
have
not.
to go to the next level.
Hey,
That's
that.
that's debatable. Like for me, which is crazy, school is easy. So that is my comfort zone. So that's why to other people they're like, you did. I'm like, it was school. But my struggle is getting into something that isn't already structured. I was having my I work in a hospital. I'm a hospital administrator. Been doing that 16 years. I could do that eyes closed wherever I'm at. Same with writing a book or school. But you're telling me to do it on my own and start my own business to do so I got to figure this out. Like you'd be like, that's what's been my delay. Like I don't want to do all of that. So it's like I got to get out of my comfort of like I excel in these areas, but let me see how I can excel in this area.
Right.
And then I find too, people suffer with imposter syndrome. When you do get to a certain point, you look up.
I'm one of them people.
And-
Sorry, what is that?
Imposter syndrome is like
Hey,
you
don't know,
get
you
to
don't
a
know.
point where you achieve something and you start to doubt if you belong.
Oh,
there. If
man.
you have,
Or
if
put
you
like
have
this.
what's necessary, should you be here?
I've dealt with
Do
that.
do I belong here?
Oh,
Am I as
man.
good as them?
Yeah.
You know,
Or it could
and
be
that's a real
you
thing.
created this persona that everybody else believes, but it's not even you.
Yeah.
So I'm being who you want me to be for you, but when I get home, I'm like, this isn't even me.
Yeah. You know.
and
A lot of
people
self-sabotage.
struggle with that.
We struggle with that. I know
I
we've
done
had
told
talks
Jay,
about that.
yeah,
We've
I've
had
been-
talks about that.
I've been
We've
places
had
and
talks
You
about
end up
that.
sabotaging the whole situation.
Oh,
sometimes.
yeah.
And
You
I
don't
come
feel like
home and I
people
tell my wife, I said, baby, I don't feel like I don't even belong here. Like I'm in certain situations and it's like you really question like, and then you have to remind yourself, no, I worked hard.
Yeah.
Man.
Hence why I don't want to write this book. I was like, no, y'all got multi-million-dollar companies.
Yeah.
Like, what? Okay.
Don't worry, yours will be here next
I
week.
get it. Not next week. Come on,
Oh,
next
no.
week.
Great point.
Next week. Look, I said it. Her company gonna be there next
There
week.
you go. We put it out there.
Now let's talk
I'm
about
gonna be her secretary.
the platform. When you click the link, I click the link and it takes me to the Amazon link, right? Now, is this going to be the price?
Yes, because it's just an ebook right now.
Okay,
So
so
the
talk about
hard
that so they
copy
can know.
books, yeah. So it's just an
Okay.
ebook right now. We're talking about making an audio book, and the hard copies will be available next month. But we aren't
Okay.
going to put them on there. We're going to just sell our own hard copy books.
Okay.
That's
I
dope.
would definitely
Yeah,
like to get one, a hard copy. But all of you, if you have the Kindle and you have the app or whatever, take advantage that you can get it right now for $2.99 because, and then also buy the hard copy too when it comes out to support. So
You damn right.
Right.
Yeah. So
See, Damon says Super 100 on imposter syndrome. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. That's crazy. It's deep though.
I
know.
know.
Because you don't realize it.
Yeah, that's a real thing. I've dealt with that at times before. And you, like you said, you got to tell yourself, man, I've been working really hard though.
Yeah.
You know?
You have to have those conversations and remind yourself that, you know, sometimes we work hard and we just keep our head down and we
Yep.
grind and
Yeah.
we grind.
Yeah.
And then you look up and it's like, oh
But-
yeah,
But sometimes
and another point
this
is
was part of the plan, like
Yeah.
to be here.
another point is to definitely put yourself in those circles or people that you know that share that space with you. That's going to be
Right.
positive, you know,
Right.
because
Yeah.
that helps. You
people
know,
telling you, you can do it.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
belong here.
yeah,
Like,
you know, like
Oh, man.
you know, I've told Brandy
That's-
shit for years.
You can almost not go
I've
to the
told
next
Brandy like
level.
I'm one of your biggest fans, and you know,
He is,
I don't
he
know how
is.
much it helped, but you know, I'll be like, you know, yeah, you gon', you know,
Yeah.
she said I gotta do this. I'm like, piece of cake, Brandy, like, you know, but yeah, we all need that, you know.
Yes,
Man,
we do.
say that
And I
again.
wonder if that's just because sometimes you know, a lot of times you go through life grinding real hard and not getting what you deserve. And I wonder if that's just some type of automatic reaction. Like when you finally get to that point, it's like, do I even deserve this? Because I'm so used to working hard and not getting
Hearing
what I
the no's,
deserve.
Yeah, hearing the no's
like
and hearing the
confliction.
negativity, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, you gotta know how to iron that out.
That's still a form of a comfort zone, even if it's disappointment.
Exact dysfunction can be comfortable.
Yeah.
It is.
Wow.
It's-
But I think it helps to write it down. Like, it was my therapist. I love my little therapist. He literally was like, do me a favor, write down all your accomplishments on a piece of paper and let's talk about it next week. And when I wrote it down and we went over it, he like, do you hear what you just said? Like, I just say things so casually. Like, oh yeah, I graduated high school at 16. I had some friends, we had been friends 10 years. He was like, how come I never knew that? Because I don't lead with that. Like, it's like literally, even when I was getting this last degree, I was really hesitant. Like, oh, I'm in school. Because it's like, I don't want to hear the whole conversation. Like, I met a guy, he like, you should see my library collection. I'm like, I don't want to see your library collection. Like, so it's like you also, I've always been the youngest one in my circle, so I never wanted them to feel bad. So I always stayed in the background. And just do it. You just do it and you don't think about it. Like you said, you're just doing it.
Right.
So you really be like, no, I deserve this, I earned this, and I do deserve more.
Right.
Facts.
Damon is preaching and Shonda.
Damon
and Shonda in here letting it go.
Do you feel like sometimes you didn't celebrate
I didn't at all.
the things that you should have celebrated because you were just trying to get the goal sometimes, and then you kind of, sometimes it seems like you miss out on things that you probably should have threw a party for, or you know what I mean?
Never
Went out
had a party for any of these graduations. The first one, I take it back.
Oh, okay. So we might have to have an
So it was
R&B
well,
equilibrium
last
party
one,
for
it was gonna
Dr.
be
Brandy
It was
Florence.
pandemic year.
Okay.
So it was like the pandemic, and then it was, so finally when it was happening,
Right.
it's like, oh, but I have not. I don't think I've ever really celebrated any of them.
Okay.
I'll just go on a trip, but I mean, like,
I was about to say
allow
that.
other people to celebrate me or have a party. Like, a part of me really still wants to have a graduation party.
Right.
Yeah, because she will hop on a plane in a second. I'm like, Brandy, where you at? I'm in some part of this other country. I'm like, I just talked to you yesterday. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you I was leaving. Like,
Leaving the night.
yeah, like exactly. See what I'm talking about?
About to go right to the airport.
If you're in
She's
the
like, 3,
if you're on
2,
the
1.
chat right now, hit the like button, please.
Man,
Yes,
You're listening
like,
to
subscribe,
the Art
share.
of Equilibrium podcast. This is episode 130.
And get
y'all.
a special shout out to
okay.
the chat room. They ain't here. Our
Exactly,
chat group
so-
is really, really wise. I just want to say.
Okay.
Our chat, we probably got one of the most wisest chat rooms, man. They've been there talking.
Exactly.
I can't even keep up with y'all because
Right.
Yeah,
They ain't here
yeah,
talking.
I'm looking
Nah.
at it right now. It's-
Now I have a question. So, once you realized through therapy what was kind of driving you, was there a moment where you changed how you approach situations with that information? Like knowing,
That's a good question.
I may be putting pressure on myself because of this, and maybe that's not so healthy, or maybe that's okay. Like, did you make any adjustments?
I think at the time I found out, I didn't go back to school till recently. Like, I hadn't been, it was like a 15-year gap between when I went back to school. But I think it was just like not getting too discouraged. Like, you know what? It's going to be what it's going to be. Like, I'm in this program. And I'm funny, I tell somebody every day, I would be like, I don't know how they pick me, but I'm going to just write this little paper and we're going to turn it in. And
see
then,
that goes right back to this. I don't even know what I'm doing here.
Imposter syndrome, exactly.
But that doctor, because that's a different level. Like, my master's degree, I tell people, easiest degree ever, because it's my feelings, it's my thoughts. This doctor, they be like, where's the source? I'm like, me. She's like, take that out. You're like, it's great, but you don't have a source.
Right.
So it was just a shift for me, but I think I wasn't, at that point, I don't think I was as hard on myself that I had been before, but I also knew it was going to require a different level of me. So I really was like tunnel vision.
See, and I wonder, how do you balance that all out? Because sometimes that can come off arrogant when you're getting really focused and you're trying to accept that I belong here. I'm supposed to be here. You know what I'm saying? But if you, that's just like, it almost seems like that could be the other end of the spectrum. Though. So how do you? That's what I'm saying. So how do you find that balance between I don't belong here and no, I do belong here?
You gotta weed that out, just like when you're on the basketball court.
I think
baby.
it's just after certain, not repetition,
know what I'm saying?
but
Yeah,
repetition.
that's a good question.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like for me, every semester, it would be like, okay, like, I got an A. Like, I was mad. I think Jason probably, I was mad because I got a perfect score on a paper one time. And he was like, why are you mad? I said, because he set me up for the next teacher to be like, all of these things are wrong. And that's what happened in the next class. Like, tell me what's wrong so I can adjust it. But I think it's just the repetition of, as bonding with the circle of the people that were in the program that were going through the same thing. Because, I have friends like, what do you mean you can't go out? because I'm writing a dissertation.
Right.
Like, I'm not in kindergarten school.
I'm writing a dissertation.
Like, they would be so mad. Like, I don't really care. So for 2.5 years, I'm in school. I can't because I didn't think I could balance it because I had such a gap in between my master's degree and my doctorate. That school, I had to relearn school.
Man.
So yeah, I did lose friends. But my professor told us that first day. She said, y'all gonna lose some friends and some family members along the way.
Yeah,
And I did.
That's always the case.
Yeah.
Always the case.
They don't understand
would-
their vision.
I
That's
have no
okay.
problem losing a family member trying to get a doctorate. Bye.
Yeah. Whatever you're really going after, you're gonna lose
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
process.
definitely.
Yeah, I
gonna-
lost family
you
members
gonna
over a
lose.
conversation.
And it should, because everybody's not meant to go with you to that next level, and then you realize some of these people were anchors that were holding you down.
Facts.
That's facts.
And then you might get hit with the survivor's remorse.
Listen, Brandy, what advice can you give us today to take away? What's the one thing you want to leave on the table today for us to remember that these are the things that's going to help other people become dynamic? Like, what do you want to leave with us and tell us, like, to get over those hurdles, to not be so hard on ourselves?
I think it starts with just believing in you and your ability.
Facts.
Figure out what you like to do and just take that path and stop listening to what everybody else has to say.
Okay.
Message. And what Damon just, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna read it. It said, Damon says, elevate. You should have put an exclamation mark behind that one, young man. He said, don't be afraid to be better than what you're used to. You're only arrogant to those who don't get it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Facts, man. Hey man, this is going
I
up
got a
today.
free therapy session today, man. Thank y'all.
Hey man,
I am a
today
life
we
coach,
went
too.
up, man. I would like to thank Dr. Brandy Florence for coming over here and blessing us with her story. Thank you so much. I love you. I really appreciate you coming in. This is a great favor for me, to me in the podcast family.
Yes. Great show. Thank you.
Get the book.
Yes,
Coming
the book.
Dynamic. You
The
know,
link is in the description. All you have to do is
Name
click
so
it.
powerful.
if you need a life coach, Dr. Brandy, holler at her. All right, y'all. Love y'all. See y'all next week.
Good day.
Nice looking book, too.